Okay, remixes. As you can see, I just got back from my holiday in Austria, where I went for an ice skating race. I'm actually still wearing the same clothes, so I'm quickly going to change and then we'll get into all of the remix stuff. Alright, let's get into remixes. So this is a project that I've been working on recently now. This is a remix for the track Colors by MindB. And in this video, I just want to go through some of the interesting things that I'm doing here to take this remix to the next level with the original audio material. Because when it comes to creating a remix, we want to create something new, but keep it recognizable to the original. You of course want to kind of create hints back to the original idea so that the people actually can hear it like, oh, this is a remix of that other track. This is basically a recreation or a reinterpretation of the same idea that already exists in the other tracks. And that is partially what I did over here. If we have a listen to this part of the original. You can hear that that same idea is present over here, but just changed up in a way that it makes it new. The way that you get to this point is through audio mangling. As you can imagine, I have all of the stems of the original project. So if I go into some of the individual groups in here, say this one over here, we can hear this original synth. And this is just a straight stem that I've modified. So if I again go back into the original project, I believe it is over here. It already has that strong melodic idea into it, and what I've decided to do is interpret that with the bass line. And just to go over what I've done is we have these two files over here playing like this. That's the original melody, and then we distort it. We have a little bit of stereo processing and an LFO tool. That is where the pluckiness comes from. Then we have another filter which is opening up over here. Then we have another LFO tool which is mainly towards the end here for an extra interesting effect. We have the frequency shifter, which is helping with the build over here. We have saturation for all of this. Another LFO tool over here. Again, this is doing some kind of interesting pattern. And then we have the final things that you need to get it into the mix. An EQ, some delay, and then finally volume automation. And that means that together in the mix we get an idea that sounds like this. Now, quick stop, I quickly want to ask you, are you subscribed to the channel? Have you put down a like yet? And that interesting comment that you had in your head, why not just write it down for me, please? So that I can actually see what you think about the video. Now, as you can hear, this is a very, very similar idea to the original track, in terms of that it's literally the same starting melody. And one of the things that I want to stress with this remix stuff is that you don't want to over-destroy a certain sound, because the goal is to keep it recognizable for the listener that knows the original track as well. Now, some areas of the track are very, very similar. If we take a look at the section that leads into that last melody that we just checked, we get this.
Fuck, it feels like I'm inside of this too. Wow. The colors, whites and reds and blues. Wow. I just went on a fucking what? Holy shit, this is wild.
You can hear that it is very, very similar to what we have over here in the original track.
It feels like I'm inside of this too. Wow, the colors, whites and reds and blues. Wow. I just went on a fucking holy shit, this is wild.
Of course, the same vocal is used and also the same structural idea. So this is a place where the track becomes really recognizable from the original. But there's also ways in which I like to differ from the original. For example, also using the structure. This synth over here comes very early on in the original track. As you can hear, it is a mangled up version of this synth that's playing in the first drop over here. And by having it later on in the track, it is in a different, interesting spot, which differentiates how you interpret the idea versus how the original track interprets the idea. Now, up until this point, it has mainly been the main melodies of the track, as you can hear over this one. That is, of course, a melody, and the other one was a melody as well. And what I've done is, yes, some basic processing, mainly with LFO tools and some other stuff over here to alter the formants and that kind of stuff in the build-up here. But also some more stereo processing, some more delay coming in over time, and careful volume balances. We have created an element that is fairly similar, but mainly it keeps the same rhythm, it keeps the same groove, it keeps the same kind of identity within the track. And yes, you can build different elements around it, and it's always going to sound different on a different kick and bass and with different drums. But crucially, I'm keeping the groove the same here to, again, make it similar to the original. What you can also do is switch up the groove, and I like to do this with sounds that I'm processing a little bit less, so that there's still an interesting change that makes this sound a little bit unique. So here we have an FM sound. And that is just a chopped up version of what is happening over here. As you can see, I've taken this clip over here and we can zoom out a little bit, and this is the original rhythm, and I've just taken a small chop off of that and placed it kind of in a different spot within the 1-bar structure. And now we have this little response over here as well. So together these two sounds like this. And you can hear that this is a very nice distinct groove. If you know the original element, you can definitely hear what it's made from. But you can also hear that it's different once it's first right in the fill. Another thing that I decided to recut in this part of the track is this format sequence over here. As you can hear, it immediately starts to rise over here, which I didn't want in this part of the track, which is actually a build-up. As you can hear, I just wanted to start rising once the drop starts to actually play, but that wasn't part of the original sample. If we just look at the original sample, we can see that it's just a bunch of rising loops. We have this one over here, this little part. And then it starts to play over here already. And then here again we have a rising idea. So all we had to do to actually execute my idea was to just take a little part of it at the start here and just duplicate that over. As you can see, these are small files here. And again, it is keeping the element very similar in what it's doing in terms of sound, but we're just using it in a slightly different way. This allows us to kind of put it in a different part of the structure as well. And this is where I want to talk a little bit about my philosophy of what I can bring into a remix. I really only do remixes once before I even start with the project, have already an idea in my head of what I would do with a track if I were to remix the track. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of producers that just kind of do a remix because one, they like the original track, or two, they may want to jump off the fame of the original track. If it's like a main pop track, maybe people would do that. But I personally only would really remix tracks if I were able to actually bring something new to the table. And one of the things that actually means is that I actually contact the original artist to get all of these original stems that I can then play with. Because that is the cool thing about doing a remix, is that you get this whole load of different ideas that are already pre-existent, and that you can place them in your own way in a new composition. And you can actually build upon the ideas of the original track's creator and actually add more ideas to them. One of the ways that I've done that, for example, is all of the main vocals talk about colors, because of course that is the name of the track.
Wow. Okay. I'm also seeing incredible hexagonal transforming kaleidoscopic visuals.
And one of the vocals that I decided to add to that effect was this one over here. Nice digital robot voice that just emphasizes the main theme of the track once more. And within this part of the track, it definitely helps add a little bit of extra identity to this version of the track. And this brings us neatly into the last part of this video, which is adding your own unique elements to the track. This was already one of the parts where really the only main elements that are coming from the remix is the main vocal over here. Together with some small parts of the one-shots, for example, this part over here is a one-shot. This is coming from the original track. I'm doing a little bit of processing, mainly in the form of this N transformer over here to alter it a little bit over time. But some of the main ideas, like this screeching kind of wobbling synth here that plays on the beat. As well as this very big warm pluck over here. All of those are original elements, and as you can hear, they are really the standing out elements of this part of the track. And for me, the whole point is to mangle in some of my own original ideas in between ideas that are mainly based on already existing elements, so elements that just come mainly from stems that I'm reprocessing. Here's another example of an idea that I made completely from scratch for this track. That is actually sandwiched in between that earlier melody part that we heard before. And that format stuff that we heard after that, which is also part of the original track. So as you can probably tell, I'm really trying to alternate original idea with idea from the original track, which is kind of interesting saying it like that, but that is exactly how it works. And hopefully really the only takeaway from this video is that remixes are very interesting to do because you get to basically look into the mind of a different producer and kind of take all of their pieces in their mind and rearrange them in your own track. Now, if you want to see this full production being made, most of what I've done in this production is actually online in live streams. So I'm going to link to a playlist in the description that holds all of those live streams so that you can see the full production of this project taking shape. Of course, I've made some small details off stream, and once I'm going to go into mixing, the track is going to sound a little bit different. But all of the main ideas that you see in this production are actually the way that they are in the stream as well. Finally, if you want to hear the full track, you can do that over on Eclipse Sound Syndicate, where we just had our 1-year anniversary released, and I opened the set with this track. But that's everything that I want to talk about for today, so I hope that you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you did by leaving a like, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Another way to support me is by checking out my products down below in the description or my Patreon page. So thanks if you do. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.